All right, let me get this out of the way because I know so many of you guys are going to rush to the comments and be like, oh my gosh, Nick, this is terrible. Oh, this is egregious. That's okay. That's fine. You know why? Because it's me. I'm the one that thinks this. It's fine if you don't. I don't care. And until you are standing in front of a Canon M50 with an ATR 1300 Audio-Technica microphone, well, it's all me, baby. Maybe it's not so much that I don't care if the United States is bad or doesn't do well. Like, at the end of the day, there's still the team that is my country and the team that, I objectively, I have a rooting interest in them. I think it's more than anything just sort of like the state of acceptance that I've had because, the game of basketball has evolved on such a level that it doesn't belong to us anymore. Not that it ever necessarily did, but I'm just saying for the last 2.5 decades, the expectation was whether it was FIBA or the Olympics that we were probably going to roll out some death squad that more than likely was going to run through everybody. And you can, even if you don't agree with that, which I don't know why you wouldn't, we were always the favorite, I guess. The global reach of basketball is in such a place right now, it's the highest that it's ever been on an international level. The recognition of talent across the board is undeniable. Case in point, the last 3 MVPs of the league have been international players. And I know that Giannis being one of them, winning twice, is kind of not the last 3. So I guess technically the last 2 MVPs who have won the last, you know what I'm saying? International players. So the product of this is that international teams have gotten a lot better. And I think that it's weird because whenever you look at a team like Australia, Patty Mills cooking the U.S. is not really new. Dellavedova is another guy. Patty Mills especially cooking the U.S., that is nothing new. It's also funny to me because it's did you guys not expect that this was going to happen? I know on paper this team looks absolutely ridiculous. Pretty much any collection of NBA players on America's basketball team is going to look unbeatable. Josh Eberle made a great point on Twitter. He's you take this U.S. roster, and if they were playing a 7-game series, not many countries would be able to put up anything other than a sweep. On paper, that's what the experts would pick. Now, is that sort of a larger commentary on where national media is at? Not really. Actually, I think this time, for once, I think it's just on paper, you would just assume that 9 times out of 10, the U.S. beats that Nigeria. Not even 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100 times, that U.S. team beats Nigeria, or they beat, which shout out to Stephen A. Smith for being just the worst, which not shout out, anti-shout out. How do I anti-shout out Stephen A. Smith? Stephen A. Smith sucks right now. Anyway, I'm getting off track. What was I talking about? Well, let me make this point too. I know you guys, okay? I have access to my analytics. I know what my demographics are. I know that most of you are around my age. Some of you are younger than me, and then the rest of you are older than me. Such is life. Obviously, that's how it works. I'm just saying the primary demographics are around my age or a little bit younger. I know most of you don't like this country. It's hilarious that for every 4 years, okay, every time the Olympics roll around, or 2 years if you want to count the Winter Olympics, but every 4 years when the Summer Olympics roll around, everybody's USA, USA, for the smallest blip, right? There's a 2-month period where everybody's yeah, America, and then you go back to being man, this place sucks. And then the opposite side of that, those people will be well, if you don't like this country, then just leave. I truly and sincerely cannot think of a more hilarious counter to the people who are there are issues with this nation. And imagine you lived in an apartment, okay, and you have a mold problem. You're wait, there's some mold right there. So you're landlord, hey, we got a mold problem. Can we get this fixed? And he comes in and he checks it out and he looks at it. He goes, he looks at you. He just goes, well, you could just leave. Because then the people that live there afterwards still have to deal with those same problems. That's America. Where was I going? Basketball. There's something else that people are just forgetting. You know what else you guys are forgetting? This isn't new. There's been a noticeable decline in the product that the United States puts out every single year. I can't say every single year because it's really only been the last 2 examples. I also want to say this. The U.S. team might not be bad. A lot of these guys could still be kind of in vacation mode, and they're just kind of, going through the motions in these exhibition games. And as soon as the actual games start, they're going to kick it into gear, and they might breeze their way to a gold medal. Who knows? That could actually happen. But I think it was it 2019, the last time that they held the FIBA World Cup? I think it was 2019. We were bad. You guys remember that? We were bad. Pretty sure Spain won, and wasn't Argentina in the final? Okay. This is the problem with me not researching things before I make these videos and just doing them off the top of my head, because I could say something like this and it could just be totally wrong. But I'm pretty sure, I think Spain won. The last great product we saw was 2016.
Is it a coincidence that Carmelo Anthony was playing in the Olympics that year? I don't think that's a coincidence.
You want to know something else? I think this is awesome. I think it's great because if I don't want the United States, like it's hilarious when we beat anybody by like 80 points. Like that's just objectively funny, is a good entertainment. Well, for us it is, I guess. But I am also not opposed to us not just breezing our way to a gold medal. And again, I don't even they could win silver. I wouldn't care. They could win bronze. They could not medal, and I wouldn't care. Like, I don't know that there's a sport, and I don't want this to come across as like a you shouldn't, like, I'm not trying to tell you not to care about something, because I just because I passionately am just against wanting to pay attention to something. Not that I'm not going to pay attention. Doesn't mean that I'm not trying to force that on you. So I apologize if that's how it's coming off. But like, blech. And it's not even like I have ties to this U.S. team. My guy, Jeremy Grant, one of the players on my basketball team, is playing right now. Even Sadiq Bey is like technically on the team right now. Isaiah Stewart, I know he had the ankle thing, but he was a select guy too. So it's like I have players on this team that I should be rooting for right now. When the Olympics actually start, I'll only have Jeremy Grant. But it's like still my guy. It's also annoying to me that everybody's scapegoating Jeremy Grant just because he's not one of your team's superstars and he's just like an easy target. And that's lame to me. Stop being mean to Jeremy Grant. I think it would be great if the U.S. got sunned in the Olympics on an international stage. Like, it's a little bit different. Like, okay, for example, the World Cup. You want to talk about how people get super patriotic for like a little bit of time every few years. Whenever the World Cup rolls around, every men's or women's, I'm guilty of it. I'm like, yeah, soccer, football. Like, this is so much fun. It's not that I'm necessarily like USA. Like, when the U.S. gets knocked out, I'm bummed. But I think it's just the spectacle of it that I enjoy. Like, the whole world is watching this one tournament, and it's just really interesting to me. And even after the U.S. gets knocked out, I still want to be watching the best product of as I possibly can, and that's ultimately what you're getting. So if the Olympics end up being the gold medal game is, Spain versus who's even qualified, Brazil, Argentina. I don't know who's qualified right now, but like, well, if that's the best basketball we're going to be getting, well, sure. Now, this also does mean that if the U.S. gets knocked out, then it wasn't the best basketball. They might have had the best players, but they might have sucked the most, too. It's weird how those things can be true. Now, is this an indictment on Greg Popovich? Now, as a Twitter shout out, did I give credit for the last tweet? Josh Eberle said the thing about 7-game series. I don't know if I credited him for that. I'm going to bring up another Twitter thing. Stop bothering me about bringing things up on Twitter just because you're not on Twitter. How many times do I have to say this? I don't care. Get on Twitter then, because this is where I'm going to get 90% of the stuff that I talk about. Get on Twitter. I don't care. Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, who you guys are probably familiar with on this website, made a great point. So Popovich got into like a heated argument with what's the guy's name? Joe Vardon? Is that how you say his last name? From The Athletic. He covers the league on a national level. Wrote a nasty, dumb hit piece on Colin Sexton, and I did not care much for that. Him and Popovich kind of got into it, and Greg just came off as like a dick, like which he always does, and everybody was just like, that's Pop. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. So because the guy's won 5 championships and has meant a lot to basketball, we're just supposed to be like, well, he's just not a nice guy. And if somebody, like, I get being defensive, but Jacob's point was like, imagine if Russell Westbrook did that, and we would all just be like, Russell Westbrook, what a mean person, going at it with a reporter. And it's like, I don't know, it was this whole thing, and I just I don't know, who should give me Avery Johnson. Let's just let Avery Johnson coach the U.S. team. I don't know, let's just get weird. Am I selling anybody on anything? Probably not. I don't know if I've made a coherent point yet. Such is life on this channel. I would like to think that's just more or less how it's going to go. And I also feel like all my points end up coming back to the same thing, whether it's like the NBA Finals or the Olympics or anything. I'm always just like, well, I just want to be watching the best product of basketball. And I get how that sounds, but ultimately it's true. And I just want to be making sure that the best teams are going to be playing. If Spain wants to run a million Spain pick and rolls on their way to a gold medal, Drake meme, what am I going to do? Say no? I hate bad products, even though I watched Detroit for like a lot of years. And if the U.S. is going to be a bad product, then I'm good. You should be good on that too. I'm good. That's okay. And we don't even care that much, right? You would much rather have an NBA Finals for your team, a championship. That's what you guys would rather have. Like a team like Luka said something for like Slovenia. He's like, a gold medal would mean more than an NBA title, just because of the circumstances, right? And just speaking comparatively, which means more. It makes sense. I get why he would say that. And a gold medal to us is just like winning 50 games. You know what I mean? I don't know. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?